September is coming right around the corner, and you know what that means? September call-ups. Very interesting, obviously. There will only be 2 September call-ups per team as the rosters are expanding from 26 players to 28. And for the Red Sox, that brings up a very interesting scenario of who are they going to call up? You would expect it's going to be one batter and one pitcher. They can only call up one pitcher because then they'd be at the max number of pitchers, which would be 14. Right now it's 13 as the rosters are 26, but it'll go up to 14. So who's going to be the call-ups? Who's in consideration? And then ultimately my predictions on who it will be. We're going to cover that right here on Bleacher Brawls. My name is Derrik, and let's get straight into it. Obviously, it's very interesting. There are a bunch of different options that people thrown around. Who knows? Maybe Sawamura doesn't get claimed off waivers and they just bring him back up, even though he was DFA'd. So that actually, never mind. That's unlikely. But who knows? I think if he doesn't get claimed on waivers, I think he'll actually stick around for next year, and they'll take the team option to have him as depth. But I think there's really kind of 2 standout candidates. Obviously, Zach Kelly just got called up from AAA, so he's off the board. You look at the guys who've been called up this year, like a Phillips Valdez isn't with the team anymore; he's out of the organization. And so the options are Connor Wong is an option at the catcher spot. Seems a little unlikely though, considering they're already carrying 3 catchers. There are some maybe Jarren Duran could be called back up, but since they just sent him back down, that doesn't seem likely. To me, there's really only 2 options, and we're going to cover those 2 options. It's Frank Carman, part of the Adam Ottavino trade, if I can get it out right, where the Red Sox traded for Adam Ottavino and Frank Carman for cash considerations. And then the next one is Tristan Cassis. I just think those 2 guys are really the only ones that make sense. The only other one that makes sense is Connor Wong, but I don't see them carrying 3 catchers. So that's what I'm rolling with. Connor Wong has been very good of late, though. Before we move on to Carman and Cassis, Connor Wong has been amazing as of late. Very, very good. I just think it's kind of a 3 catchers thing. I don't see them carrying 3 catchers. So let's talk about Frank Carman first, because Carman is the one that really, really interests me. Obviously, the Red Sox got him in the trade for Adam Ottavino. He was the additional piece with Ottavino, former starter. However, last year struggled a bit as a starter. They moved him to the bullpen, was stellar, and this year he's continued that. In between AA and High A this year, Double A and Triple A, this year. He's pitched 44 2/3 innings, 38 appearances, a 3.63 ERA. That's a 3.02 ERA, at 3.63 runs allowed per 9 innings. That's including the unearned runs, the 3.63 number. The 3.02 is the ERA. In AA, it was a 3.18 ERA and 11.1 innings. 11 1/3 innings. Then moving up to AAA, 33 1/3 innings, 2.97 ERA. He hasn't given up any unearned runs. He's been stellar since going to AAA. Probably their best reliever right now, considering Zach Kelly just got called up. And he's got a 1.02 whip this year in AAA. and AA, it was 0.794. That's stellar. He hasn't given up a lot of home runs. Only 0.4 home runs per 9 innings. He's only given up 2 homers this year. 11.3 strikeouts per 9. Now the walks are high. It's 3.8 walks per 9 over the course of the year. 4.3 in AAA. But you see that a lot with relievers. It's not a big concern, honestly. Honestly, it's really not. And his walks per 9 as a starter weren't necessarily better than that. So it's not like a big surprise. However, his stuff will play in the bullpen, and he's been very good there. I mean, there isn't much to say besides the fact that he just has been a very good reliever, especially between AA and AAA, especially in AAA this year. To me, that just makes sense. And there's no point in calling someone up who's like a kind of older guy who's already been in the big leagues. It doesn't make sense. just doesn't. Frank Carman, obviously the 30th ranked prospect, according to Sox prospects in the Red Sox system. He has definitely climbed up those rankings this year, and this is one of those guys that he's going to get overlooked because he's a reliever in prospect rankings. Also, too, he was like the add-on in a trade in that Adam Ottavino trade. Most people didn't really think about him. It was like, oh yeah, we're getting Adam Ottavino. It's like, hold on, no, we're getting this guy as well. And he seems like he could play a decent role in an MLB bullpen at the very least. And that's kind of at least what you're looking for. You're just looking for a guy who can. And the Red Sox too, they've struggled with middle relief this year. The back end seems set with Houck, Schreiber, maybe Strom if he stays. I don't know, but if Houck stays in the bullpen, with Whitlock, Houck, and Schreiber, that back end seems solid. Then you're really just looking at, okay, now we need to get the bridge to those guys. Frank Carman can be one of those guys. Just like Zach Kelly maybe could be one of those guys as well. Well, that's to be seen, though. We're not 100% sure. He's only pitched one game, but he did have a very good one game. Now, when we look at, Carman, overall, when we look at him, he has topped out at 99 out of the bullpen. So that's good. He's got a good split. He's also throws in a slider. However, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just going to end up more as a fastball split pitcher with the occasional slider. Now, it seems the most likely outcome for Frank Carman is like a middle reliever, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. You get a solid middle reliever, you take that 100%. But he does have that potential, that ceiling of a back end guy, setup man, maybe even a closer, depending on the team. And if he reaches that, that's amazing. If not, you're not complaining. But he is set to be, a piece for the Red Sox. I think he'll be on I honestly think he'll be on the big league roster in 2023 to start the season. And you might as well just call him up and see what you have. They're not Red Sox. They're not really competing for it. I think they might win more games if they bring up a guy like a Frank Carman, because I think they really need some middle relief, and I think he can give that to them in the middle of the game, trying to bridge it from the starter to that back end of the bullpen, especially right now since Tanner Houck is out. But that's going to wrap it up on Frank Carman. We're going to move on now to Tristan Cassis. Universally agreed he's the Red Sox #2 prospect. Sox prospects did have him at #1 for like most of the year, but with Cassis going down and Marcel Meyer just being Marcel Meyer and being amazing, they have flip-flopped the two. So Cassis is the #2 prospect. He is 40-man. He does have to be added to the 40-man this offseason. You might as well just add him and call him up early. Might as well add him early and call him up. To me, there's no point in not doing it. He's just going to be solid. He's got the ceiling of being an all-star guy who can hit for good average and power as well. To me, he's more of a doubles guy right now. And it's not saying that he can't hit home runs. I just feel like with his approach, he's not trying to hit home runs. If they come, they come. But he's not trying to force the ball out of the ballpark, which I love, because if you have the power and you have the right approach, the home runs will come eventually. But, who's going to complain if he hits, 40 doubles and 25 home runs? I wouldn't complain. Even if he only hits 20 home runs but hits 40 doubles, okay, so what? I think Cassis has more potential to be a 50 double guy than a 35 home run guy, if that makes any sense. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Obviously, I think he's solid at first base defensively. And he works on it a lot. Everyone who goes down to Worcester, all the people, whether they work for Sox prospects or they work for whoever they work for, they all say works a lot on his defense, takes pride in his defense, and that's great. Very high work ethic. He's got a very good arm, plus arm for first base. Obviously, he used to play third base, and he touched low 90s on the mound when he was in high school. He would have had more than enough arm to play third base, honestly. Obviously, raw power is so high on him. It's probably his best tool is raw power. I do think that he can hit that 30 home run, be that 30-run home run guy in the future. But even short term, I think, You're not asking for him to hit 300 or whatever. You know, he hits 240, 250, high on base, draws a decent amount of walks as well. You're not complaining about it at all. I think Cassis, people was looking at his average like a couple months ago before he came back from his injury, and they're like, oh, 240, 240, it's not good. It's like, might want to look at the on-base percentage. Now Cassis's average is up to 266 the last night. It's actually up to 270 now. A 383 on base, so that's the key one. A 383 on base, 40 slugging, 863 OPS. He's got 10 homers in AAA this year, 20 doubles. He's got one triple. He hit that triple I think the other day. 46 walks in 68 games of solid, 65 strikeouts. It's not amazing. The strikeout rate did go up in AAA this year compared to AA last year, but that's expected. Like honestly, that's expected. You have guys that go to AAA, and here's how I look at it. Right, here's how I look at the whole strikeout thing. If you're making if you're walking enough, it's gonna offset the strikeouts because if you strike out 20, I think Aaron Judge strikes out 20% of the time to 25% of the time. You strike out that much nowadays, it's not that big of a deal. You just have to do the other things at the plate. You can't strike out 25% of the time and not get on base and not get hits. But I think Cassis can do that. I think he can get enough hits. And I think he can get on base enough where it's not going to be a massive problem. I really don't think it will be. I think he has the potential to be a guy who, from day one, could hit at 240, 250 with, a decent on base and be able to, like, get on base a lot and play a big role. Cassis, his projections, as I'm looking at them right now, his 2023 projections are actually they're in 100 games. They're 100 game projections. For 2023, his projection is to hit 259 with a 336 on base and a 479 slugging. I actually see it being a little bit, maybe the average a little bit lower, but the on base a little bit higher actually, because they only have him at a 9.6% walk rate, which to me feels low for Cassis considering that last year in AA had a 15% walk rate. This year in AAA he's got a 15% walk rate. Maybe it drops to 13% in the big leagues this first year, but I don't see it dropping all the way to 9-10%. I don't see that. If his average is 250, I think he'll have it on base over 350. Which you're not going to complain about. He's not going to be hitting in the middle. We're probably going to hit in the around the 5-6 spot for the Red Sox next year, I would think. This year probably around the 6-7 spot. You're not going to complain about a guy who can get on base, with a 360, 370 on base. You're not going to complain about that at all. I think Cassis, long term, could be a guy who hits 260 to 270, maybe at the peak of the Tristan Cassis ceiling. This guy can hit 260 to 275, probably closer to 275, with on base pushing 380, 390, maybe even closing in on 400. With that 25 homers, 40 doubles, or maybe the doubles drop and the home runs go up. Maybe it's like 30 doubles, 30 homers, something like that. I think that's the peak for Cassis, but I think he has set himself a somewhat high floor because he has shown the ability. He will take his walks. He does not trying to hit a home run. He's not trying to pull the ball either. You give him a pitch on the outside part of the plate, he's not going to try and pull it. If he pulls it, he pulls it, but he's not going to try and pull it. He'll hit it up the middle for a single, or he'll put it in the gap for a double. He's not going to try and force it to pull it, which I do think is huge. Now, when you do look at Cassis and you start looking into him, in AAA this year, a 38.5% pull rate, 29% going up the middle, and 32.6% going to the other field, going opposite field. So he's very balanced. Obviously a little pull heavy, but almost everyone's a little pull heavy at the very least. But he's shown the ability to be able to spray the ball into all fields, which is something that's very nice to see. And recently he's been very good. In his last 30 games, he's hitting 318 with a 433 on base, a 545 slugging, with a 16% walk rate, 20% K rate, and a 158 weighted runs created plus. And that's the thing. 20% strikeout rate, it's not really great. But you're not going to complain about it if he's doing that, obviously. And then in his last 50 plate appearances in AAA, a 385 average, a 529 on base, a 590 slugging with 12 walks and only 8 strikeouts. And also, too, let's note this. In the AAA East Division, he's the 4th youngest player in the league with at least 250 plate appearances. That stands for something as well. He's very young for the league, and he's playing very well at a very high level, especially now. And he's really finding his footing, and he's really making those strides. And I would not be surprised to see him called up on September 1st. And maybe give the Red Sox a little bit of life. And also, too, Eric Hosmer and Tristan Cassis went to the same high school, not at the same time, obviously, but Cassis and has been mentored already by Hosmer in the past. I think that can continue, and I think the Red Sox will have a bright future at first base. And I'm very excited for it, and I'm also very excited to see. I hope Frank Carman does get called up. He deserves it. He's been very good this year. Obviously, I'd like to see the walks drop a little bit, but he's still young and he still has a lot of time to still develop. He still hasn't even played a game in the majors yet. Same thing with Cassis. There's time for them to develop, and hopefully they will be pieces for the Red Sox for a long time to come. That's going to wrap this thing up, though. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls. Make sure to check out all the Bleacher Brawls links in the description, the website, podcast, Instagram, and Twitter, plus all the crew's Twitters. Also, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever we upload. Changing the upload schedule a little bit. Red Sox shows on Tuesdays, and we're going to have a video on Wednesday, whether it's prospects or on just MLB in general or whatever. And then Thursdays will be our Yankees show. We may, when football season starts, we may do a football show, which that might change things up a little bit, but that's a little bit down the road for now. But that's going to be the upload schedule for now, changing up a little bit. So stay tuned for all that. 3 videos a week. We're going to make sure that this content, though, is 100% the best content we can give you guys as viewers. So we're very excited for that. But now we're going to officially wrap it up. My name is Derek. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls, and I'll see you next time.